The keyboard hobby has absolutely popped off in the last couple of years and you see them all over the place, but I couldn't find a concise video to answer a simple question: how the f do you buy a mechanical keyboard? I'm pretty new to the mechanical keyboard community, so please correct me in the comments if I've messed anything up. So from my experience, there are three major ways of getting your hands on a mechanical keyboard. There are group buys, in-stock/extras, and the aftermarket. Group buys, well, the best way to think about it is like a Kickstarter campaign. An interest check is usually put out 1 to 2 months before the actual group buy phase. And this is always hosted on a website called Geekhack. Geekhack looks freaking ancient, but this is where all the mechanical keyboard happenings are. It's the best way for a small designer with like zero fan base, zero audience to actually get their product out to as many eyes as possible. They ideally have a prototype in hand and they're like, yeah, check this out, I can make it, it works. And people are like, yeah, that looks sick, I'm gonna actually buy it. And then they go, cool, I can make my minimum order, I'm going to actually put this into a group buy. And then how the group buy itself works is it's usually a period of time, maybe 1 to 2 months. If you miss that window, chances are you're never gonna see it ever again. And customers like us, we put our money forward, we pay for shipping, everything, and then the designer goes and actually gets it made with the money they've collected. This is the best way to support small creators. Like, it's freaking awesome that there's an entire community that's willing to do this. But the worst part is that sometimes it takes like 6 months to get your product, maybe even in terrible cases over a year. One of the other things is that you need to really closely monitor the community to get an idea of when things are gonna happen. I usually get all my information from following creators on YouTube. A few cool people I followed on YouTube who get some stuff early are obviously Hard Types, Alex Odos, Near Lucid, my good mate Captain Sterling, Keyboard, just to name a few. Another really neat resource is mechgroupbuys.com. You can see what group buys are upcoming or live there. And usually, after I see what's been doing the rounds, I reckon this thing is worth my time and my money, I usually jump on that designer's Discord and then see further from there. In stock is another way to get a keyboard. Usually cheaper keyboards are sold as in stock because it's impossible to create something such high quality at such a huge scale. Some noteworthy companies are Novel Keys, Canon Keys, KBD Fans. They sell a lot of in stock keyboards there. And I use this website called Thockstock, which is linked in the info cards that way. Another really interesting way to grab an in-stock keyboard is by monitoring a designer's personal website for the sale of extras. So from my understanding, what happens here with extras is that a designer likes to order extra units from the manufacturer because of quality control. I wouldn't really count on this as a way to get a keyboard because it's not like expected. But if you missed out on a group buy period, this could be a good way to do it. And of course, the last way is aftermarket. Aftermarket prices usually skyrocket, and they are sometimes, if it's a really sought after keyboard, it could be like 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the cost. But of course, the payoff here is that you don't have to wait for the group buy period. You get it straight away, provided you don't get scammed or something. I'm not really sure what it's like over in the US. I know that Mech Market, like r/Mech Market exists. Here in Australia, I just joined like a local vendor's Discord server, and they usually have like a market channel and people just post what they've got there. That's how I bought this freaking... Sure, I want to do one of these ones. Do one of these ones, mate. The group buy had already ended, and they're kind of notorious for having like a stupidly long group buy phase with like 0 updates. So some dude was selling it for super cheap, and I just bought it. Just got lucky. All right, so this keyboard absolutely surpassed everything I just said. This one wasn't run on Geekhack at all. Purely because the creators are super well known and it's an insanely cheap keyboard considering everything it promises. This is it. This is the sale page for the keyboard. This is the QK65. If you're wondering, it's nighttime now. I was editing the video, I realized I missed out a few parts, so I'm just... Why is it called 65? 65 represents the size of a keyboard, and it's usually sized as a percentage compared to 100. 100 being one of those ones with like the numpad that you normally see in like an office or whatever. Popular sizes are 60%, 65%, 75%, 80% or 10 keyless. 65% usually hits a sweet spot for most people because there's all the keys you'd need to type on, as well as like the arrow keys and a few more function keys in like a really compact form factor. It's also very similar to what you'd find on a laptop. If there's enough keys on a laptop, then you'd be fine with a 65. We also have the difference between ANSI or ANSI, and ISO keyboard layouts, which are the two most popular Western keyboard layouts. All they really do is change the size and the positioning of the backslash, the left shift, and the enter key. The ISO layout is pretty easily defined by this chunky enter key. Another layout that is quite popular is the HHKB layout. I think it's more of a novel thing these days. Please correct me if I'm wrong again, but it references the happy hacking keyboard, hence HHKB. It's a pretty special keyboard. I kind of want one myself, but I feel like if there's no arrow keys, I'm gonna die. So as quickly as I can, the anatomy of a keyboard, I guess so to speak. A keyboard is usually made out of 5 parts. We have the case, the PCB, which is like the brains of the keyboard, the plate, the stabilizers and switches, and the keycaps. The most popular way to purchase a keyboard these days is in a DIY kit, fully packaged with everything barring those last 2 points. Sometimes if you're lucky, it might come with stabilizers. In this case, it does come with stabilizers. As you can see here, there's a list of vendors. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what vendors are, but that'll probably be in the next video where I talk about switches, because that's really important. If we just do a little scroll here, you can start to see a few random things that we need to get our head around. So we've got hot swap PCB, pour on foam, PE foam, and standoff set. So hot swap is pretty self-explanatory. That means that you can get the switch and take it out and you can swap it around with whatever you want if you want to try new switches. Solder is also pretty self-explanatory. You have to actually solder the switches into the PCB, which means it's quite permanent and it's difficult to swap around. I've never soldered a PCB. Sorry if I don't sound legit because of that. The plate foam refers to between the plate and the PCB, there is a chunk of foam that sits there, and that's just to reduce any hollowness. PE foam, which is that special layer of foam on top of the PCB, which gives it like a really nice poppy sound. Another thing that we need to get our head around is the plate materials. PC is polycarbonate, FR4 is PCB material, POM plate is another plastic, I'm pretty sure. Alloy plate is obviously aluminium. Some other options you might come across is like brass and even a carbon fiber I've seen a couple times. And then you've got optional extras just in case you screw some bits up or whatever. Something else you might come across is these layout charts. What's happening here is it's telling you that when you have a solder PCB, typically because there are no hot swap sockets that need to go on the back of the PCB to let you swap things out, it allows for more variability in the layout of the keyboard itself. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what these layouts mean. I'm going to dive into that with the keycap episode. Alright, so how did I find this keyboard? It's similar to what I said before. A bunch of the people that I was following on YouTube were just suddenly posting this thing saying, what the hell, it's 150 bucks, so cheap, you need to get this. I was like, oh my god, that looks amazing. Where can I get more information? I found in the description there was a Notion link, and I went there for more stuff, and they also had a Discord. So I jumped on there, and I'm pretty new to Discord. I don't really know exactly how it works. I just sort of follow the instructions because I'm quite new to it. Then there's all these like sub categories. I think they're separate channels. I don't know. Someone's probably gonna roast me because I don't know anything. So I went into the QK65 news next, and it tells you everything that they are going to do with the keyboard. So they basically said what time the keyboard is going to be run. I knew because this is a product by Owl Labs, it was going to run out like instantly. So set that damn clock. Woke up really early. Early for me, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning here. And then just went onto the website and just hit refresh like crazy until it went live, and then just stuck it in the cart and then just bought it. And that's pretty much it. Now I'm in the waiting process. I think they've already started to ship out a few, as I can see here. And that's about it. Good morning. Just want to say a huge thanks to all of you guys who made it to the end of this video. Wanted to make something that I wish I had when I was joining the community. I remember really wanting to get my first keyboard, and I just couldn't find any information anywhere that really told me exactly where to buy it. So I hope this sufficed. Thanks a bunch to these awesome people for helping me out and fact checking. I sent it out to all these guys and was like, yo, can you please check it and just make sure that I got everything right? And they were very kind enough to lend their time and watch through my video with me and make sure that I didn't mess anything up. So thank you so much. This is actually going to be a series. I'm going to do 4 parts. This is the first part telling you where to buy it, and the second part is going to be about switches, and then switches and stabs, and we'll do a deep dive into that. And then the third one is going to be keycaps, and that's going to be a deep dive in itself. There's a lot to cover, like a shitload to cover, so it would be stupid to try and cram it all into one video because it would be like an hour long. So, and then the final episode is going to be me actually building the keyboard. Me and a mate, Javen, actually building the keyboard. So yeah, I hope you stick around. Got a few other cool videos if you wanted to check them out. But please drop us a sub if you are keen on sticking around to see the rest of it. And yeah, hope to see you in the next one. Cheers.
Hiking in the sun, the happiness that you mourn. You know the kids still dance, so we supply all the songs. If I'm wrong, you hit the Superman like soldier at war. You grew your hair an inch longer for the clerk at the store. Growing up, man, Pokemon's and book bag. Can't you believe it if the panties never soak in? You said Jesus made sense to the chosen. If I'm wrong, the shell stuck beneath the sides that you're on.